only because I want y'all to pay attention to everything that I'm saying. So this is audio only for starters. I think I've been on camera more than enough this week, so we can do one audio only because I want y'all to concentrate and understand what I'm talking about here. I want y'all to hear everything that I'm echoing here when I say this, and I don't want to be misconstrued or someone think that I'm saying something else that I'm actually not saying, right? So I want you guys to listen to what I'm saying and take in take in consideration when I'm saying what I'm saying. Listen to me in the chime of, hey, listen, this guy may be on to something here. I'm gonna start here so you guys understand it. Like I said, this is audio only. I think I've been on the camera enough this week. I just want you guys to hear this, to understand this. Many of y'all are parents, many of y'all are aunts and uncles, things like that, or whatever, whatever. So I'm talking about current now. I'm not talking about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago when you grew up, when I grew up, when this person grew up. No, we're talking about now. So tonight, well, let me start here. I wanna conclude into this real slow and then fast. Let's make sure everybody gets in here. Many times I mentioned on here before, including during Black History Month, right? That I can walk around New York City, I can walk around Jersey, I can walk around Connecticut. Many of those times when I walk around, I am never bothered by too many. I may have one or two, you know, white people or whatever, whatever, look here, there, say something snob or slick or whatever, but they never bother me. They never bother me. They never stop and bother. And the probability of them bothering me usually exists around the inkling of maybe a three or a four, you know, will actually have some interaction that's negative. Now, that's not to say that it can't possibly be there, but I'm saying that my interaction and where I live at is predominantly, well, for that most part, white. Okay. So Connecticut's always been like that. So when me saying that, and the reason I'm alluding to all this and I'm building up to all this, because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. So, with that being said, when I do have interactions that are negative nowadays, they seemingly come, and like I said, this is audio only, guys. They seemingly come from black or Latino men, but I will cheddar more so and say black dudes or black females. I don't know why this is or whatever. There's something in me, maybe it's my facial features, whatever the case may be, that makes them know. It gives out them a automatic pheromone. That's one thing I've noticed about black people all my life growing up. They always are able to hone in on when someone has something in them, biracial, whatever, whatever, and they use that to kind of like make fun of you, poke fun of you, attack you, or whatever they feel in the moment that they'll do to you, which is a very dangerous behavior. You know what I mean? It's very passive, it's very unpredictable, and it leads to many believing at the moment that you might have some type of mental illness deep down the line within your personality that so many people chuckle and encourage and advocate in the behest of the court when it happens to be. You know, they didn't do anything that bad. They only shot up a couple people at the club. That's little Ray Ray. He only 14. You know, yeah, this is the truth. Or this is little Mario. He's only 14. Yeah, him too. And now today, little Timmy, he's only 16. He didn't mean to shoot up the grocery store. That kid that did that up in Buffalo, New York, he was 18. So don't tell me it ain't that. But I'm talking about who I have interaction with on a daily basis, including Black History Month. Do you know in observance of Black History Month, we've had this forever here, right? And even then, the men could not even take a moment to, and this is my personal opinion, they couldn't take one moment to sit back to themselves and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna chill out this month. I ain't gonna be passive aggressive. I ain't gonna grill somebody. I'm gonna say, hey, how you doing, bro? Because I know what it's like to be me. You understand? That's what I would think. But instead, what a lot of men of color do, and a lot of guys ain't talking about it, they want to act like we're all in this big harmonic, you know what I mean? What's going on in that? We want to act like we're in this big harmonic, homogenized society all of a sudden that we're not, especially cultural wise. All right. There's a very big difference. Now, this is the thing. Every time I walk past black dudes, I'm not saying every time, but I'm going to say 7 out of 10 times, right? And I know that's a hard curve, but if you're another man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What's going on, Queen Keish? If you're a man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And depending on what caliber of man you are, because some of these men, they just intimidated by these men and they would never do that. But some of these men, they actually honestly and truthfully believe, and I'm talking about black guys, they actually and truthfully believe that the way they should motivate and move around in society, and along with the women too, a lot of them nowadays, is that they have to be passive aggressive amongst their own, but never to anybody else. Which leads me to this. I am half Latino, okay? I know how to speak Spanish. I have Spanish friends. I know how to speak Spanish food, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Auténtico. En tú sabes, no la gente, pero la barrio. So this is why I fit in. There was a specific reason they put me in here because I asked them this specifically. Okay? Now, this is the thing. In this neighborhood, yes, I have people that are this jerk sometimes or whatever, whatever, but more so at an 80 to 85% margin. Mostly everybody here is nice. Everybody doesn't have any problems or whatever. It's a small little 15%, usually made up of people that are not from here. You understand? Or haven't lived in Connecticut the duration of their life that start the problems. Which leads me to this. I go outside and I smoke a cigarette tonight. And I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette and I got my headphones on. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the phone. I'm just checking out, see what's going on the internet. And as I'm listening to music, as I'm checking out the internet, I notice that three individuals get out of a car. I'm willing to bet something here, but I'm going to tell you guys this in a minute. But I'm willing to bet something here. So I see three individuals get out of the car. I'm assuming it was an Uber. They look pretty young to me, especially one gentleman because he had a book bag with him. So I was marginalizing. I was saying to myself, they got to be about 17, 18 years old, whatever the case may be. They get out the car. The first thing that happens is there's one particular girl, and she will later on figure out she's the troublemaker. She's a ringleader, a troublemaker. But see, she's doing this. I could already figure it out because I got sisters. She's doing this to impress the people she's with. She thinks this is a move. But I'm going to talk about the psychology behind it because this is deeper than what y'all think. So stay with me. So as I'm sitting there and I'm smoking my cigarette or whatever, I notice that all three of them, they start pacing back and forth. Now, I've never seen these three, and all three of them, they're either Jamaican or Haitian or American black. One of the three. That's all that lives in this neighborhood. And it sprinkles of them. Now, I'm sitting there and I'm wondering why are they walking back and forth? Then they started pacing right in front of me. They obviously wanted me to see them, right? But since I wouldn't give them the attention, I won't point out to you, it was three of them, two girls, one boy. The boy was following in on this, which had me confused because I'm like, you ain't supposed to ever follow behind the girls. You never follow behind the girls. And that comes with a lack of a lot of things right there. But I'll get into that another time. That's a whole different conversation. You never follow behind the girls, boys. Don't ever follow behind girls, boys. The girls are counting on you to make decisions. If you see them doing something silly, then you tell them, hey, look, you don't know that, man. It's dark out here, and you're counting on her and I to accommodate whatever you choose to do. What she chose to do was, at this time, this young lady says to me, excuse me. I said, huh? Excuse me, huh? So I'm wondering why this young girl that seems appears to be maybe, let's say top 18, 19 years old, decides to speak to me. And I'm like, automatically, I'm already appalled, but I keep my composure because I have to realize this is somebody that's young. But at the same time, don't make no mistake about it. I come from a military family. I'm going to talk affirmatively to you. And a lot of ladies don't like when men talk affirmative to them for some reason or another, unless the face happens to be light skinned, which is another issue, which I'll get into on this podcast right here, because this is going to lead to something else too. So as I'm listening to all this or whatever, and we're having this exchange, I asked her, I say to her, I say, hey, listen, did you just ask me what am I doing standing right here? She asked me, what was I doing standing right here? Am I okay? Am I okay sitting here staring at my phone with headphones on, which she can't see because it's dark? It's a very dark space. There's no light under it. That's why I was pretty attentive to what was going on. But I mind you, this wasn't somebody white. This wasn't somebody light skinned and a blanco. Entonces, la gente era un blanco latino. pero en Salvador, en Mexico, Peru. No, 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 no. This was a either Haitian, Jamaican, or African American girl that said this to me. And so I'm registering everything she says. And as I say that to her in that authoritarian type voice, which in other words, you're standing a couple feet away from me, but I can look at the distance because I have to look down at you and tell that you're about 5'3", 5'4". The young boy that's with you is about 5'3", 5'5". The other girl that's with you, she's probably the tallest of the bunch, and she probably is about 5'6", 5'7". I stand at 6'2". Once I get up on you, you're gonna realize that, and you're gonna realize how big I am. So I sat there and I'm just listening to this little young girl, and she starts blabbing off at the mouth. And this is the part I want to center in on. They're now standing in front of where I live at. She gives me this mouthy jabber. Well, if you would have seen somebody sitting out here, you would have said something too. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have. There are, let me tell you, my whole neighborhood is vastly mostly Latino now, but it used to previously be Italian, Jewish, and and a few sprinkles of Greek people here and there, depending on what part you lived in, and Jamaicans and West Indians. I don't want to take them out of the fray. So the neighborhood is diverse or whatever, but predominantly, including in my building, inclusive of myself, everybody's either Latino or some variation. You know what I mean? I think I'm on me, and I met another girl. She was from Colombia, and she's black. I met her the other day, and she was real cool. She was real cool, real tall girl too. Pretty though. La negra, la princesa. But like, this is the thing. She started turning up and talking more and more and more loud. And I already started to figure, I said, oh, you doing that for them. Oh, I got you. I got you. So I said, listen, I don't even want to continue this conversation no more. And I just put my head back in my phone and I just continued doing what I was doing. Why do I bring this up? I bring this up for this reason right here. You know, I believe in stories like Freddie Gray. I believe in stories like Trayvon Martin. I believe in stories like the gentleman, I forgot what his name is, Mario something out of California, who another Latino police officer kicked his face into the side of the curb, and I think it was Alto, something Alto, California. These people did nothing. But see, you got another breed. You got another breed. I'm gonna say it like it is. You got another breed of little motherfuckers that's out here that go around starting shit. A lot of you are parents of some of these little motherfuckers. A lot of you are parents of these little motherfuckers, young parents. I want to put an exemplified underlining fraction on. Many of y'all are young parents. And so your kids have grown up seeing you run the streets, smoke in the house, etc., 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 cuss, gossip, whatever you do. And that's at your own discretion. You have the right to do that. But what you have to also do along the line is you have to prepare these little motherfuckers for when they get in the street. Because the world will come at them and will come at them fast, and different people have different reactions. Say if let's throw up a theory here. Say if I was a retired cop and I still had my service issue weapon. And I never left out the house unless I had my service issue weapon with me at all times. Why? Because legally I bonded. I can have that, and as long as I keep up my firearm license yearly and pay my dues and have my weapon inspected and disassembled and then reassembled. That's part of the course. I can keep that fire weapon with me. So say if I was a retired cop or retired military, also had a service weapon, retired of many different ranks, retired even some security guards if you have an armed guard card. Say if I was one of these guys and I was just suffering from PTSD, didn't know how to handle myself, had war flashbacks or whatever the case may be, sweetheart, you are not putting yourself in danger. So let's just make this a teaching moment. We're not mad at that little girl. Her brain has not developed enough where she understands the consequences of her choices. But let me exemplify on this right here. I have seen situations like this where these kids will be like, oh, we were innocent. We didn't do anything. And the judgment is passed off a 5-second video, 3-second video, whatever. And in the sense of the video, however it was edited or presented or whatever, it could make you look like that until you get extended videos. And you see that no, these kids started the shit. I'll give you another example here of what I went through tonight. And I want y'all to give me your opinion in the chat room or whatever, because I want to know what y'all think. That's the same BS that happens here in Chicago, depending on the neighborhood. That's what Miss Foster said. Yeah. This is not my first round with this. One night I was sitting, matter of fact, it was just last night. I was smoking a cigarette, and I lied to you not. I was right around Times Square, whatever. I was on my way to my man's studio, whatever. He had leased out a studio spot. So I went there, recorded 2 songs. I was in and out. I've been going to the studio for 20 something years. It don't take me but 15 minutes to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already have it practiced, everything when I go in there, before I even go in there. Anybody's been in the studio, Uptown, Jerome, many others, they know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, that was clear here was I was sitting here smoking a cigarette, and I was sitting in Times Square. I'm having a coffee. I'm chilling. I'm minding my own business, literally. And I had hordes of white folks, Latin people. I'm talking about Latintico, like, 100% Latino, light skin, don't speak nothing but Spanish. You understand? And I'm talking about like Algerians, all kinds of people. Jewish people were out there. I could tell by the yarmulkes or the black top hats. And I'm like, none of these people were staring at me. None of these people were bothering me. None of these people had anything rude to say. No, nada. And you know what that came from? That came from a course of having some type of dignity and pride and decorum about themselves in social settings. And when you have a lack of that, what happens is the children digest this and they feel proper that whatever is there to influence them, they can't even make a clear distinction between it. Whatever's there to influence them, whether it be music, clothes, culture at the school, culture at the concerts, culture at the club, culture at the strip club, culture on OnlyFans, culture online, offline, doesn't matter. Whatever is popular culture will influence them more, have more influence over them than you will. They said the same thing about us when we was growing up. And they said, oh, well, the mall is the babysitter. Now they say the computer is the babysitter. And in many ways, it's true. I went from the video game as the babysitter to the mall as the babysitter, from the mall as the babysitter to the internet as the babysitter, all in one generation. That's why I'm a zennial. I've been through this situation where I'll go through my whole entire day and not have one. And I know what y'all talking about with racism. We're not going to sit here and pretend racism doesn't exist. This is not that conversation. Well, because we all know that. I just went to Malcolm X's location when he got killed at yesterday. And that was done by black people. You understand what I'm going here? So this is something that goes way, way back. And even though somebody white killed Martin Luther King, the point is, those were people of his own faith. And we've seen this story over and 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 over again. Look, let's not make no mistakes about it. Let's be clear here. Nobody gives a fuck about Black History Month no more. You seen that described right there in front of you. Miss Foster is on here right now. We had a conversation, and I remember in that conversation, we both said, do you see these motherfuckers making a post now on the last day of Black History Month? So that goes to show you they don't care. And it comes from the frailty, in my opinion, of these teen mothers and teen fathers. Not all of you, but so much of you, that it made a dent. It made a permanent dent. Not all of you, definitely not all of you. Some of you did a hell of a fucking job. Hell of a fucking job. But you got to understand what type of motherfucker you were if you was out here having sex at 12, 13, 14 years old. And I saw somebody hop off because they didn't like what I said. Oh, well. Oh, well. Oh, well. You take 100 people and put 100 people in a building. and you doing based it off of simple math. We're talking about math and equations here. We're not talking about how you feel, your emotions, or whatever. We're talking about math and equations. If you put 100 copies of the same motherfucker in there, you still have an equation for error for at least at the minimum 10 of them. Companies that produce products every day have loss prevention programs and loss prevention techniques, not to lose from people stealing, but to lose in development, excuse me, not in development, in processing and manufacturing at the time. Yes, there are some skewed numbers. And I'm telling you, some of these little motherfuckers are out here looking for trouble. They're out here looking for trouble. That's what I'm trying to express to you. So y'all think I felt I handled the situation the way a man of my age and my experience and my work experience, et cetera, should handle that. But I also know some motherfuckers, and this is the thing that kills me. I also know some motherfuckers that would have, first thing they would have done was pull out and be like, yo, who the fuck are you talking to? You see what I mean? Oop, they for the gossip only, typing too fast. It's okay. I don't mind if people leave. That's all right. That's all right. The people that see it back on a rebroadcast, you always keep in the court, and that goes to show you who cares and who doesn't care. You understand? That goes to show you who cares and doesn't care. The people that didn't care, they opted out. They're always going to opt out of the podcast because of pure simple fact, it's a reflection of them. I just heard Rizza Islam say the same words out his mouth, and they all hold him to accord. And then they have picks and choices of how they hear it and everything. It revolves back to what I was saying before. So if one or two people leave because they don't like the conversation I'm having, then oh well. It makes them look at their own households in some cases. That's the reality of it. Or friends of theirs, households, or family members of them household, or social of multiple people in their social circles, households that they see reflect this, and it's hard to hear this because there's no fixing it. The damage is done once the kid hits 7 to 8 years old, in my opinion, 9 tops, especially if it's a boy. You never ever approach strange men that you don't know and you think just because you're in the company of two friends they can save you. There are men out here that are not as in cue with their temperament as I am. You understand what I'm saying? So there are men out here that would take a situation like that and would have shot all three of you, left you laying middle in the street, and it based on your own arguments and different advocacies and everything like that, they probably would have taken a long time with the damn ambulance. These were kids. Leaned into that. There's something bigger here. There's this mammy mentality out there. Can we talk about that? I'm gonna talk about the men too, because I gotta talk about the little boy that was following behind them. There's this mammy mentality out here that dictates that mammy anytime it's a psychological ploy. But it dictates that mammy anytime, and I'm talking about mammy in the traditional sense. I'm not talking about the mammies that y'all talk about that are women that tend to pander behind or speak about or in defense of men of color. And the women say, oh, well, if you ain't with us, then you ain't with nothing. It's either the sisterhood or nothing. I'm not talking about those types. I'm talking about the traditional mammy. Traditional mammy used to keep everybody on the plantation in line, whether it was in the Caribbean, whether it was in Puerto Rico, whether it was in Brazil, whether it was in Africa, excuse me, not Africa, whether it was in, Haiti, and many other different places that use colonization, Jamaica, whatever. They always had this mammy in place, okay? As mammy transitioned out from slavery and the plantations all throughout the Caribbean, whether they be the Dutch plantation, French plantations, Spanish plantations, Portuguese plantations, all those motherfuckers that colonized y'all did business with each other. That was the whole fucking point. Everybody leaves that equation out of fucking slavery. These niggas were doing business. Okay? This was a business. You were cargo. They were the fucking manufacturer of the cargo. The cargo was to be used for irrigation purposes, basically. Picking cotton is irrigation. Picking plátano is irrigation. Picking coffee beans or the coca plant in Brazil. It's all part of irrigation and agriculture. It's a system to build spices, things of that matter. You understand? Your salts, your peppers, everything like that for trade mostly. Salted pork, things of that matter. Delicacies. Mammy had to be put in place because she had to keep all this in order. She had to keep everybody working, everybody in, Dominican Republic, they picking platinos. Brazil, they had to keep everybody. There's a mammy in every last one of these histories of slavery. This is why I try to tell you, you stand stronger together than you do apart. And you'd be very surprised. A lot of people misconstrue the Latinos and people from the Caribbean that they get here versus the ones on the island. They think very differently. Why do you think Miss Shakur has been in Cuba all these years? I had somebody come up here and talk shit about Cuba one day in the comments. I said, well, you ain't say that when Tupac Shakur's godmother was been there for all these years and many other Black Panthers. They went to Cuba. There was a reason behind that. You're distancing yourself from your allies because of a couple sets of groups of people that have private interest in matter, whether they be political, whether they be social, or whether they be this local focal businesses and little neighborhoods trying to band together to only have one specific demographic in that area and replace the current demographic or the largely vast majority of the past demographics. This is why I'm saying all this, and I'm long-winded with it because you got to understand what I'm saying here. These mammies have always been put into place for one specific task: to keep business moving and keep the mechanisms of business in churn. And that means keeping order. You understand what I'm saying? Or in more better spoke rhetoric, people keeping people in check. That is mammy's job. And so it develops this type of persona and this type of arrogance that these mammies have, where they believe anything that they say to you, and any time that they say it, and their fingers snap, you ought to do it based on the accord of penalty by massa. So yesterday I was in the train station. I grabbed my ticket out of the machine, and I came to the window. And the only reason I came to the window was because the board was off because they're doing construction. Usually I look right up at the board, all the trains are announced, whatever the case may be. And so there's a particular older Black woman in there, and she's around about, if I had to make a guess, going into her late 60s. At one time or another, she may have been attractive, but she is no more. And it's not because she's an older woman. Angela Bassett is 64 years old and beautiful. I'll take Angela Bassett down anytime, any day. I saw an interview just recently, as of a week ago, with Patti LaBelle recently that was done in February. And she's teetering on 70 something plus years old. She could get it. Make no mistake about it. No. This is an older woman that has had hard times and is all written on her face. You understand what I'm saying? And so I don't like talking to particular women like that because almost it's outlined on their face how they feel by their facial expressions, and they switch and teeter their facial expressions depending on who they're talking to and what race of the person they're talking to and what gender the person they're talking to. They have a specific way of talking to and interacting with other females of the same color as them. They have a specific way of interacting and correlating conversation between white individuals, which I think that is some broad thing that exists between all the minorities, where it's a teeter between brown nosing and kissing ass and actually being natural or being one that holds articulation within the dialogue. I can respect that. That's educated versus presumptuous and fucking being an actor or actress. I don't respect that actor or actress shit. So when we talk of form of intelligence, this is a psychological ploy that Mammy has always employed. And after, the Reconstruction period, after the Civil War and the 1920s, 1930s, 40s, 50s, in my opinion, it got worse. Mammy stung. Okay? Now, all these generations that I'm talking about, this is why I led off with Mammy so you'll understand. In these whole entire times, whether you were in Jamaica, where you were, wherever you were at in the Caribbean that was under some type of tyranny of colonization based on the Dutch, French, Spaniards, or the Portuguese. all that did business with each other, all that constructed marvelous ideas. In fact, some of the same ships, different builders from different, each one of these groups built ships for each other, sold ships to each other. Y'all really need to get into depth about this. It was a business. It was a real constructed business that was led by the Portuguese, the slavery thing that we talk about. And they actually got it from the Greeks, which is funny because the Greeks used to put them in slavery. It's funny as hell. They're branched off from what was formerly Greeks and Italians, all the they're a branch, a mutt mixture of that. That's why they come in so many different colors, from burnt brown to whatever. It's different than Caribbean slavery, where you have people of all different backgrounds and colors. Anyway, the mammies, back to the mammies. The mammies exist pure and solely for one reason: to keep some type of speculated psychological trickery order. You understand? Some of you ladies, when y'all listen to this on the playback or you're listening to it right now, you might be guilty of some mammy shit. You know what I'm saying? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. But I don't want to insult anybody. I'm talking about what we keep out of the equation of the conversation is nowhere along the line did you understand that there's been generations of these women, these mammy types. And these mammies have always been in control of the picnic in them. You understand? They've always been in control of the children. And so, specifically, if they're girls, a mammy is not going to do nothing but institute and hopefully gain the ingestion of her ideals to this little girl. And now they grow up and they think they should be like that. So yesterday, when this woman, I asked her very simply, and I want you to pay attention to what I said because the thing I had on my side was there was at least five other people standing around that were service workers with this lady. And then there was three people behind me. And when I said what I said, nobody had a problem with what I said, which shocked the fuck out of her because your personality bolted out of what was actually needed in that situation. I'm gonna say it like that because I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I have to sometimes. So what I asked her specifically was, Miss, what is the next train going to my destination? Meaning that is inclusive of time, what track, or whatever. Now, I hate to say it like this. When I ask a man or woman of any other ethnicity, I don't get any trick talk. I don't get any slick talk. I don't get any reverting back to talking like we're on the plantation somewhere. I don't get any little snickering remarks or whatever, any little slight jabs at me. I hope you fall under without saying it. I don't get any of that when I'm dealing, because I require customer service. All right. I worked for a record label for 17 years. I'm accustomed to certain type of stuff. But one of the things you will not jilt me on is fucking customer service. Why? Because the pure simple fact, if I continue to come to your establishment, you will feel every time that I come to your establishment, you can treat me any other fucking kind of way you want to, based on the fact that you and I, from your perception, are one and the same, of the same culture. Now I could have started talking to that little girl that was talking to me tonight in Spanish, and I could have ran circles around. I said, "No, I'm gonna keep it in English because if I start talking Spanish, I'm gonna say some wild shit. Somebody in the neighborhood gonna hear me." You know what I'm saying? So I was like, "Let me chill." Mammy that was in the train though, that was different. See, I had interacted with her before behind that excuse me, that ticket booth window, and she was nasty then. But yesterday, when I was coming up and I was going to answer this question, and usually the usual thing is they tell you the track and they tell you the time. The train that was before that, or at the same time as I was purchasing my ticket, more so or less, I would have missed that one, and it wasn't going to the destination I wanted to go to. So I want to underline that. So that's why I asked, what's the next train? Now, does that make sense to y'all? So the proper response would be, and what I've gotten a million times over, I've been catching the train to Metro North specifically since I was 16. One of the things that you will get is that They will tell you not only the track, but the time. Because the time is imperative for me being on the track. So I asked this lady specifically, what's the next train you have going to my destination? Track 5 with the sniver and laugh. Now, mind you, when she was talking to this white man that worked with her, that was right in front of us, right in front of me before I got to the window, she was just as nice, had a whole different, it was a whole different octave in her voice. It was like it was talking to two different people. Now, this woman don't know me from a hole in the wall. I've never said anything wrong to her, but she earned this one. And so this was her fourth time now being nasty and obnoxious to me. And I was like, you know what? I think that's enough. I think that's enough. So she responds back to me. She says, track 5, and then tries to blurt me off like, F you. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, okay, ma'am, you got it. You got it. Now, mind you, there's still eyes on me because, like I said, there's 3 people behind me, and there's about 5 of them, including the white dude she was just talking to, who moved out of my way. And I think that's why she was upset because she couldn't talk to this white man no more, as if he would want her. I'm looking at the man, not because of her color. I'm looking at the man. He has a red wing on his arm. So what kind of woman are you, lady? You out here slinging over J, 60 something, trying to throw that J back in the game. You done took a bath with some vinegar. Listen, only thing I'm saying is this woman then responds to me. I said, ma'am, I said, what time does it leave? What at the time? It leaves at what's her name? And then she got real snappy and loud. Now she did this at the time for one reason. She was trying to show off, and I know this is true. She was trying to show off because what she was hoping what I was going to do was going to give her a reaction that she wanted that would embarrass me. So I said, well, there's really no way out of this. I'm a quick thinker. So I said, well, this is, and that, that I'll get into that in a minute. But I'm a very quick thinker. And I'm very decision based very quickly because I come from a background in the music industry where we wasn't using the internet like that. You understand? The internet was there, but we wasn't utilizing it. And the things that are there now wasn't there necessarily back in 2001. Not to the degree they are now, if that makes any sense. So we had to do everything by ear, prediction, shit like that. You know? Shout out to Puff for that though. We don't think we the last generation, me, Ra, all of us guys that learned like that. I think we really are the last generation that will have learned like that, and we're young, so that's a good thing about it. She set up a series of events, hopefully to get one outcome. And when she didn't get that outcome, what happened was it made her upset. So what I said to her was, and thereby meaning outcome, meaning she wanted me to get upset because of pure simple fact she didn't show me enough respect. So she wanted to show the other people, including everybody around me, that she had thought that I was just like one in a hole with her. She wanted to say to everybody, basically, watch me tick this nigga off. But bitch, you're not realizing one thing. As you're trying to embarrass me, I can guarantee you, you have, they won't look like me, but you got a nephew, you got a son, you got somebody that you care about in your family that looks similar or like me. And you are setting up a bigger set of events than you think. Because, see, based off the perception that you have, one, well, let me tell you what I said to her first. So after she said all that shit, you know what I did, right? I said, look, you loudmouth bitch. And when I said that to her, it shocked the fuck out of her. So now she wanted to play the damsel in distress role. You know, do y'all know what the damsel in distress role is? Has anybody peeped this new shit that they doing? They've been doing it for a while in New York now, and it's hilarious because now you got minorities doing it. So peep this shit, and I'm pretty sure if you've been walking in New York City, you've seen this shit once or twice now. It's very silly and it's funny because of the people that are doing it. So I've been noticing this thing, especially when I was walking last night. And I only had like 1 or 2 people do it. But it was funny thing about it was one person that did was a black girl, and another person that did it was a rather feminine looking Latino kid. And so what they'll do is they'll look at you right in your face, and then what they'll do is they'll act like and pretend like they're running, right? They'll pretend like they're running. And so what it gives, well, I guess what they're hoping to get the perception of is they're running from you. So that's what I mean by this damsel in distress thing. This is a whole psychological game. It's really demented, to be quite honest with you, if you break down the psychology of it. But this is the games that people are playing. This is why I try to tell y'all paying attention to the wrong shit. Y'all gossiping about each other. Meanwhile, people are setting up all kinds of shit for you in the future where you lose. You understand? Temporary fulfillment right now, but long-term gain for them. I'm trying to tell y'all, in years from now, y'all gonna look back and y'all gonna listen to some of this shit I was saying. You're gonna be like, yo, he was trying to tell us the whole time. We just didn't get it. Or we wasn't ready to hear it. We weren't ready to hear it. But I'm trying to tell y'all, your women are being used as tools in a bigger chessboard than you think. I wouldn't even go as far as to say chess no more. It is. Should I go there? Should I go there? Should I go there? Should I go there? I'll do that. I'll say that for another time. It's another game that's being played, and it requires 4 players at all times, and it's not cards. If you guys have ever heard of the game Mahjong, if you never have learned how to play that, that's a game that's being played with you now. Nobody's playing, they used to have that little cute thing for 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, and nobody ever thinks, well, what if they switched up the whole game, not just the board, the whole game? So, it's still available for you to win playing chess. Yeah, it's available for you to still play chess, but that doesn't mean that's the only game that's playing in the casino anymore. You understand what I'm saying? And I know a lot about casinos. We got 2 of them here in Connecticut, on the other side of the state, Foxwoods and Mohegan, where I used to live at. Shout out to them. Shout out to the Sebastian family out there, Eden, Natalie, Cold Butts, all of them out there on the reservation, out there, Pequot Nation. This mammy act like she was in shock when I called her a bitch. And you deserved it. You deserved every bit of it. That was the 4th time you had tried me. If I allowed you a 5th time, it would have been something else. Now I said it to you between the glass window. But what she was hoping to get as a response shocked the fuck out of her. Because see, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand in society when we try to demonize men of color all the time, or just men in general, is this. See, I'm unjustified. I'm unjustified if I say something to you like that and it wasn't warranted. But I'm justified in calling you a bitch in our society if you earned every penny of it. You understand what I'm saying? The response that she gave me when I said, could you tell me the time, would have been inclusive if the boards would have been working in the station, meaning that it would have told me the track and the time. So, bitch, at the pay rate that you're getting, what makes you think that you're exempt from telling me the time and the track when your facilities are not requiring such at the moment? See, she thought I had never been anywhere or whatever. I also want to add in the fact this bitch don't even live here because I seen you pull out in your car before. You live in New York. See what I'm saying? So I'm not making this stuff up. I'm telling you how this goes. There's a set of rules and things like that that are imaginary out in this world right now, where women think that they can go up and say anything to whatever man that they want to, and based off the couple of motherfuckers that they know, they are protected. Or based off of how they feel about feminism, they're protected. And I'm here to tell you, there are men out here right now as we speak, to this day, right now as I'm speaking, that are out here killing women. Have y'all looked at the murder rates for women this past year? And I'm talking about the 2022 year. Have you looked at those numbers? Guess things ain't the way you think they are, huh? And they more so seem like they're mine. And every time I see the same kind of thing, and I'm not justifying any of these stories, I would never do that. But one thing that I see that stays in common with these stories is this. It's always, and tragic as it is, because I don't think you should go around killing no woman because she had a loud mouth, but I can see how someone will drag you to it. Every last one of these stories, yes, these girls might have been nice to other people, But in a relationship, that doesn't necessarily mean they kept that same demeanor. Meaning, like, I've seen a lot of women in my time from different cultures, okay, that will, on one token, be one way with one set of people, but in a relationship, they are somebody totally different. Totally different. This is not the nice little Cindy or the nice little Shaquana or the nice little Maria that you always know. No, this is somebody, this is a demon. Even around John, she's the demon. She's just pretending like she's nice. You understand? I've met many of women like that are chameleons, like literal chameleons. This is why a lot of these men that are marrying these women, if y'all have seen them, there's been one woman, she married a man over in China, I believe it was. He ended up suing the broad. She had all this plastic surgery done and shit like that or whatever. Ended up having a kid. That kid came out looking like Sloth from the Goonies. Hey, you guys. Ass looking baby. I'm saying? That baby was tight looking. I seen that baby. I was like, shut up, mother, motherfucking Merle. Jesus Christ, who did this shit? Anyway, it was that. It's the makeup. Have y'all seen some of these makeup tutorial videos? Oh my God. These girls that go from looking like Gargamel from the Smurfs to going to look like Princess fucking whoever from Dubai. It's like it's crazy. Like the transformations and things like that from just adding certain lines with certain types of filler and mascara. I seen a broad tie her fucking face up to give her appearance of a lift on her chin. All the while she got the Midwest hog belly chin. You understand what I'm saying? Texas piglet chin. You understand? This chick was just all messed up in real life. I seen a chick pull her teeth out and made herself look like an A1 model, and everybody on her Instagram, because I had to go see it for myself. Everybody on her Insta, guess they left her Instagram there. The motherfuckers, they did her dirty. They left her Instagram there. I went to her Instagram and I was like, oh my God, this is retarded. The amount of men that were on there just hardcore, baby, you the beautifulest. You look, baby, you so gorgeous, baby. What's your cash? If I want to give you some money, baby, when can I take you out? Let me fly you out in my private helicopter. I'm like, yo, did y'all not see what this broad looked like without? And she literally had the same video on her page. This ain't bashing women. I'm just trying to let y'all know it's all kinds of women from all kinds of backgrounds. This woman was white. That's the point I'm getting at. This woman was white. She wasn't black. She was white. She wasn't Latina. She was white. The white girls be wearing the most makeup. Trust me, I done dated many of Latin, excuse me, I said Latin. I done dated many of Italian and Greek girls out here in Connecticut. It's the demographic, whatever. I lived on the shoreline. So that's all that's out there, all the way to from there to extending to Rhode Island. Now, my last woman that I was with, yes, she was black, blacker than black. She was, and listen, any woman that's sitting up here and they giving any type of a quarter what I'm talking about, my ex was born and raised Muslim. That is no cap. I had another beautiful relationship with another black woman that was Haitian, and I actually had a daughter by her. It's from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, my Evenon. So yeah, don't get on me about that. You know, I know all y'all feel that, but at the same time, I'm only half black. I don't have to adhere to that bullshit. And I think that's a kind of a trick anyway to try to shame people into something or whatever. You better get in a time machine and go back to the plantation then to change things up, because every last one of you motherfuckers got white in you. Almost every last one of you anyway, except for a few. A few. You show me one motherfucker got the original DNA from Africa that's still walking around, and I'll kick it with you. Anyway, because this, you know what, I'm going to turn this and segue this into something that's a topic for you guys too, because I've seen it. So I'm going to turn this into that in a second. Just give me a second, because I want to finish this off. This man yesterday, I can guarantee you, goes between people, it goes between guys. And I know how I dress. I dress clean cut, I dress age appropriate. I have white men walk past me and nod their head. Not that that's a big deal, but I'm talking about in Midtown Manhattan. I have it happen all the time. I get compliments from people all the time. A lot of people mistake me and try to figure out what I am. I get called European, I get called French, I get called everything except what the fuck I am. Most of the time. But I'm cool with that. All those influences are with me. I grew up around people like that. I've been around, ate at the dinner tables, spent holidays with these people, Italians, Greece alike. So it is what it is. I can understand that. But the thing with that familiarity is a lot of Black Americans don't understand that a lot of times they're making a mistake when they live under those means. And they associate anything that has necessarily, let's say, Black with it as being of them and having shared the same experience. I'm not talking about slavery, I'm talking about same experience in a household. You understand? Like, Miss, my aunt didn't talk like you. So that's what that woman thought yesterday. My mother doesn't talk like you. My grandmother didn't talk like you. They were at my what's the name? My aunt was my third grade English teacher. I've mentioned this before. My great aunt, God bless her. Elaine Casey, she just had another birthday. I gotta tell her happy birthday. That's my great aunt. She's 81 now, and she had always been around the school and I'm talking about elementary school, stuff like that. My other aunt right now, she teaches autistic kids. You understand? I don't come from a family of people that can't speak English correctly. You know what I'm saying? On my mom's side. Now, on my father's side, that's something different. But I mean, as far as articulation, I'm not talking about this basic English. I'm talking about articulations and manifest, different matriculations of that articulation. There's always been a heavy emphasis on the engineers. I come with my uncle, worked at General Electric for years. I'm talking about in the development portion of the business. He had friends that worked at places that made microprocessors, like a company called Digital, which my RP to him, big Uncle Ricardo. Like, so I've always come around from men and women that were educators and things like that or whatever. And it's just insulting when you get people and I'm not taking away from anybody's family, everybody's got greats in their family, but the particular individual that say they've worked at a regular job, never put in any investments, never went to college, don't own any current stocks, haven't done half of the fraction of the shit you done at your age. And now this motherfucker is sitting back almost in retirement age, and they're looking at you and they're like, you know what? I feel because of my seniority, I'm better than every man of color that walk up in here. I make $80,000 a year. Show me a man that make more than that. No, bitch, you can't attract a man that make more than that. That's your whole problem. You can't attract a man. You can't attract a man that make $30,000 a year because you're lame. You have no personality. Nobody likes you, even in your friendship circles. A lot of women don't even realize that. The chicks that you hang out with don't like you either. They think you trash. The chicks you hang out with, I learned this from my sisters. The chicks you hang out with, they all along can read you and take, because a lot of you chicks like to run around with that little, what they mean by, I can read him. I did a psychoanalysis of him. That's where it comes from. I'm trying to tell you, all this shit that these bitches is running on y'all, the wicked ones, is all about reverse psychology. The same reverse psychology they used to lose in fifth, sixth, seventh grade, or whatever the case may be, they doing it now, but they doing it on a whole new scale. And there's a whole bunch of simps and suckers and men in Congress and legislate that got shit up against them because you grabbed an ass 30 years ago or 40 years ago. Let it out. What the fuck, huh? This is what we're really hiding. This is why this shit is going amok. There's been a couple constituents all throughout this nation, if y'all don't know, all throughout this nation that have grabbed an ass, grabbed a teddy, bent some chick over a post somewhere. You know what I'm saying? The secretary, intern, whatever. Y'all remember Bill Clinton? You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't remember what happened with fucking Donald Trump just recently? Grab her by the pussy. Stormy Daniels, that payout he had to make. Joel Epstein or whatever, and all the people that he had around him, that was right here local in New York. I told y'all before, and I went past it before, and I'll do it again. Somebody just bought that place. I don't know why, but somebody bought that place. I'll take you back by that. When I used to live right there between Fifth, it's between Fifth and I think it's up by the 50 somewhere. And you walk that because it's before you get to the church. But I used to live right there on that area of Fifth right there. And that's why every time I go up there, y'all always notice I go in front of Trump Tower. I never have no problem. The police are standing right there. They don't even pay attention. Why? Because they're used to seeing my face because they saw my face for a straight 3 years. Everybody in that building know me. The freaking what's the name know me. That's why homie said, "Let me get on your on your camera." The one that had the Donald Trump mask on. I tell y'all that when I'm in front of there. I tell y'all that when I'm in front of there. Believe what you want to believe. I used to stay up that way. So my whole thing is this, right? With all this passive aggressive thing that these women throwing out, because I don't want to bash women. That's why I took a pause. Because some of these women, these are the same women that have these attitudes. They never lived on Fifth Avenue, never will, never had, never can. You understand? That's just another one I throw in the bucket list of the many ones I've done early in life. I've been lucky. I know this. But my point is this. When we have women in society, particularly of the old culture or whatever, that are doing this, and white women, you do this to white men too. White women do it to white men, and this is where black women have gotten it from, and Latin women have gotten it from. They're all trying to pattermine the white woman, but you never will in this culture. Not in this country. They'll never allow you to do it. They'll never allow you to do it. Ever. It'll be Earth is freezing over before they allow you to do that. They're giving you the illusion that you're somebody. But you got to understand, ladies, women of color, how they're marketing you. And I know a lot about marketing. I worked in a fucking marketing department for 17 years, one of the best. Oh, I know about marketing. We've helped market artists, over 52 artists at least in 17 years. From all different genres, singers, rappers, choirs, gospel artists, legend artists. Tell me about that. I met Prince in that same building I took y'all to, which is my old building. That's where I first started at 1540 Broadway. I met Prince in that building. He was signed to Clive at the time, and he was dealing with Clive. I don't know if he was under Arista. I don't want to put that out there, but I believe he was signed to Arista. And Arista was literally 2-3 floors on top of us. Clive gave Puff the deal. That's what got away from over there on 3rd Avenue, don't you know? So that was before my time. I wasn't with them on 3rd Avenue. Big Gene Deal, Big Midwest, he was over there with them. He had to be. Big Midwest, he was over there doing them days. Shout out, same gang, Harlem, East Side, what up? But yeah. The women that you have now that are utilizing a form of European Amelia Earhart, Susan B. Handy type of women's suffrage movement, now matriculated into the Misandrous Women's League. The Misandrous Women's League. That's what y'all should call it, the Misandrous Women's League. Because you hate men. That little girl that said that to me, you are in no position to be asking any grown man anything. You shouldn't be asking any man nothing. And it's constantly mouthing off or getting snappy and acting sassy, trying to prove something. It's going to get a couple of you ladies with instead of 32 teeth, maybe 16 in your mouth. It's going to end you up with a limp. It's going to end you up not being able to use your shoulder really good. It might even end you up in a wheelchair, depending on who you're dealing with. So I want you to keep in order. I don't care how much you think feminism is supporting women or whatever, and I have nothing against women. I don't take it out of my day to walk up to some random woman and be like, you know what, let me say something obnoxious as fuck to you and piss you off for the rest of your day. So now you can feel less about yourself or whatever the case may be. And most of the time it's in a retaliatory fashion because somebody in your household or somebody around you has terrorized you. But you don't never display the reason why, but we see it on your face. Oh, you was the fat girl at school. I get it. They made fun of you because you were fat. I get it. Oh, you were the dirty girl at school. Oh, I get it. They made fun of you because you was dirty. And you sat under torment for 12 grades feeling that dirtiness. This people all fall on you. Huh? Or let me guess, you was the bad hair girl, right? You was the girl that had a funny smile. You was the girl that had the braces. And not one time do these narcissistic ass fucking bitches that think like this ever take the moment to say to themselves, not based off empathy, but based on sensibility and intelligence. I wonder if the guys went through this too. Shh. You know, all of my friends that I have are fucking huge or built or in shape or whatever, whatever. And I need to get myself cut back up or whatever. But y'all to see me do my thing. I do bags on brick walls, factory. You know what I mean? I'm about to start doing the trees. I can do too. But I've recorded and it's still here on this page. So if somebody tested me on that, I did 90. You know what I mean? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna read your comment. Okay, got you. I already know. It's Miss False out of Chicago. Shout out to her. Big time support. If you guys like to support the program, you may so as well. $ STRINGERBELL80. She said, great topic. I'm glad y'all rocking with me. I'm going to continue this topic because I think it needs to be addressed. Your kids may have been influenced by Mammy. And right now, what you're seeing is an ultimation of 100 years and 40 years in the 145, 60 years in the making. You were getting the ultimate nigga. This is where I'm getting at. The ultimate nigga. You ever seen that episode of the Boondocks? Crazy bitch and super nigga. That's like big nigga. You got that now. Crazy bitch and big nigga. That's who's out here. And I'm just saying to you, don't hesitate or procrastinate on reacting to one of these little motherfuckers. They have no empathy for you. No, I'm talking about their own. They'll have more empathy for somebody white or any other culture in distress, hurt, harmed, or whatever before they will for you. They will step over your body and be like, oh, this is another one. Good thing it is. Because, see, they have been internally taught, most of them by their mothers, to hate anybody that looks like them. Why? Because their mother was tormented by them. Even some of the, and she hates when she has a daughter or a son that don't reflect the way she looks. So she puts in the extra encouragement, in my opinion, to torment them even more and sets them up and zest them up mentally so they become something that you never thought they would have been. From a viewing eye from someone that doesn't live in that household, based on what she's presenting the parent or parents most of the time, because there's some ghetto parents too. You understand? So when y'all sit out here, y'all be like, why are these kids? Here's your solution and here's the answer. Because see, one of the best things I have, one of the terrible things I have is I lost my daughter. So I lost out on the opportunity to be a parent, right? Constantly to this day, I always have to live with that. I've never had any other kids since then. And so what it allowed me to do was, and I've started to notice this because I have other friends that don't have kids. I'm not the only one in the bunch. Matter of fact, the demographics show that most men of color don't have kids. It's the women that have kids, and these women tend to have kids by multiple men for some reason or another. Now, you can look these demographics up on your own. They're easily available. Look at the percentage, and you can look up each demographic. Look up black demographic, white demographic, Latin demographic. Go there, look it up. I'm up for the argument and come back because there won't be any argument. I know what those numbers say because I wouldn't even speak it if I didn't know. I wouldn't speak about it if I didn't know. Never speak about demographics or stats and you don't know the specific. You'll make the biggest mistake of your life and nobody in that room will ever trust you again. I want you to come back and be like you was right or say some sarcastic shit so that I know that way you confirm that I was right. It is a matter of respect at this point, fellas, that you're lacking. I've seen a couple of y'all throw up shit, and I've seen a couple of y'all talk about it. Is there assault on men of color? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And it's being spearheaded and ran not by white supremacy, but by feminists. Y'all think they doing this? You think the white folks is doing this? White folks ain't doing this. White folks are strategic enough to know they still need these demographics to vote, to be inclusive in politics because they have a history linked in this country? Yes, they do. They need you for a lot of things. That's why to this day, they will never let those numbers exceed, let's say, 45% in the House of Representatives, known as the National Black Caucus, but also the other demographics that follow unbeknownst, unbelow them. And that's why the two highest demographics are the Black National Caucus and the National Caucus, which is made up of whites. You have a Latino National Caucus that is something to like 7% of the House, and that's nationally. You have incoming, I guess you would call it some type of Middle Eastern thing that they kind of set up during the tenure now, or slightly before, with the former governor of Louisiana, who is, I believe, either Indian or Punjabi, one of the two. Yeah, the ex-governor, excuse me, governor of Louisiana. So, and I think they sit at something like 2%. So if you're at 7, even 10%, you don't have enough bargaining power unless you've got other people on board from those other two majority caucuses to join you. You're not getting a bill passed. You're not getting anything passed. You understand? And we found this out, and this is not just theory. We found this out with this recently, not too long ago out in California. You had a lady out there that made some real disparaging remarks about what we later found out was a gay couple that had adopted a black son. And they made all these different racial things that these are Mexican Americans, not to be confused with Mexicans, Mexican Americans. I keep telling you about this Latinx shit and jibaros and jibaras. Very big difference here. This is Latinx motherfuckers. And so they got elected to different parts of local government there in Los Angeles, whatever the case may be. And they were making fun of this, not only this gay couple or this white man, but they were making fun of the black child they adopted and said, what are they going to do? Teach them how to talk white? No, 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 no. And I'm thinking to myself, this is somebody that doesn't know anything about the history of this country, you know? Because if that's the case, you need to go back to slavery and figure out what was going on here. This is why they had house niggas. This is why you have movies like I mean, there's even movies out there to explain it for you. Django Unchained, which was produced by relatively a white man, Quentin Tarantino. And in that movie is depicted, and you see many of house Negroes in the house, and they helped out. They lived with the slave, and one of the best examples of it is Broomhilda, who her part in the character at the time. Her German mistress taught her how to speak German. Do you not remember this? Let's just say that the African Americans have a longer history with whites than you do. You're pretending. And they see right through you, but they'll allow you to pretend. So you got to learn the ways of whites. And this is why I say African Americans have, and I think this is what Marjorie Green Taylor was saying the other day, and she just said it the wrong way. But the longevity and the history you have, I don't care what demographic it is, okay? If you have experience being around two tribes of people for an extended amount of time, you've gone to school together, you've grown up together, you know each other, whatever. And then you get other demographics that come in, and based off their perception and rumors and things that they've heard within their own culture that exists, and they communicate about versus the reality of what's actually at stake in the history of the locale that they're at the time. What happens is you have a margining of opinion. And then when you add in people's personal ambitions from what each one of these set groups as a group and individually, you get a whole bunch of different ideas thrown out there. You understand? And so there's all these presumptions that are made, but in reality, the longest standing histories in this country, respectively enough, would be white Americans and black Americans, especially prior to 400 years, and their history being so interlinked with each other that you cannot even mention one without the other. Now, well, I think a lot of people get misconstrued, and I'll go back to the premise here in a minute. But I think where a lot of people get misconstrued when they come to this country, they tend to believe what people have told them, and many times these people that have told them this have never even come to America. They have. And they never realize this until later on when they're 60, 70 years old. Why the fuck was I listening to them? They didn't even leave there. They didn't leave Sri Lanka. They didn't leave Vietnam. They didn't leave Korea. They didn't leave Mexico. I left. I left. So they go with all these preconceived notions that they hear, whatever, and how the brown nose and kiss white people's ass. This is true. I've heard other immigrants. One of my best friends, Sam, he's Cambodian. He told me this about his parents. You know what I mean? He said, my parents always kissing white people's ass, and these white people don't like them. And he said it in front of one of her white friends. And I was so proud when he did that. He was like, why do you pretend like you like my mom? You're fucking racist as shit. My friend Sam in Fall River, Massachusetts, I will never forget that day to the day I die. And she was. And she hid behind the fact that she was old and she was white to say the racist shit that she says. They're very undermining when they talk to you, and they like to belittle you. And they always love you in a position where you look like a boy. You look like a pet to them. You will think, hanging around them, and Jay-Z has thought this, Puff has thought this, these people are way bigger than you will ever be. Most of the people we're talking about. You know what I mean? These are multimillionaires and billionaires. They even fall into the clade of that. Even after Jay-Z had signed the deal for Barclays Center, a motherfucker came from behind him and tried to put his hand over his shoulder like he had something to do with the deal to sign him, you know? And the only thing you can do is one of two choices. You can do something physically, you know, or you can suck it in and take it. But all about it is, it's all about psychology. You understand? And so that's why I was getting back to, and I want to circle back around, never get around back into the conversation I was talking about with these mammies. These mammies have taught young mammies. And these young mammies are now running around here muck. You understand? And I want to give a clear example and give some solutions and counsel for the young mammies out there. Oh, young mammy, your life is in danger. Young mammy, you need to slow down. Young mammy, you need to slow down. Yes, young mammy, you need to slow down. See, out here in the midst, young mammies, and I've noticed this in hood rats and hood boogers and people from the hood to talk in that such kind of octave and always want to challenge men nowadays or whatever. And the name and the right of sassiness, being sassy is what it's all about. I bet you I ain't gonna do it. I'm not your father. I'm not that uncle that molested you. I'm not the little boys that locked you in the bathroom and poured soap on your head. I'm not that time that you got beat for $100 because you picked some hobo ass boyfriend that later on got you pregnant and left you without one, but came back and left you with two babies. I'm not none of those guys. And for you to group me in lets me know the type of losers that you've been around your whole entire life. See, a lot of these women that y'all don't take into accord, a lot of these women react and they say the things that they do and they move the way that they do because this is the only example of the type of men that they've ever had around them. And based on the fact that they've only had those type of men around them, they emulate the behaviors of what it takes to get next to men just like that. And the boys, they do it too. They do it too. I've seen this a million times over. And the younger the mother or the father is at the time, the worse it is, in my opinion. Because now you're dropping the kids off to grandma. Grandma's 60 something years old, or in today's standards, grandma's probably 40 something, 42, 43 years old. She's still going to the club. She's still listening to 50. You know what I'm saying? She got 21 Savage for the weekends. Grandma Tamika. Let's call her Grandma Tamika. Grandma Tamika smoke blunts. Grandma Tamika be hanging out. This is Grandma Tamika. She don't give a fuck. She turned. I know these Grandma Tamikas because I'm in my 40s. We're still young, but at the same time, a whole demographic has shifted within the confines of 20 years. I'm talking about anything from the late 90s to early 2000s because of the pure simple fact that we had these teenage mothers and fathers. They didn't get pregnant by themselves. And now you have grown up accustomed to being in public housing, and to a certain age anyway. I always notice that. A lot of these women, they live in public housing for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, after that 10 years, the kids have grown up a little bit. They start going to school now and everything like that, or whatever. They get a better job. You know, they're working as a nurse. They're making $32 an hour. All right, let's move out the neighborhood and pretend we never lived in the projects. But there's one thing missing. What's that? Your personality show where you used to live at. Your personality reflects where you used to live at. Your personality speaks for your whole existence, not your voice. You know how many Italians I know out of North Jersey, huh? Out of Connecticut, they talk with an Italian accent, some of the most intelligent men you ever know in your life. I got friends that really speak Italian, as y'all can see. So I don't have to pretend here. You know what I mean? We're not talking about people because of where they're from and their background. It's the clutching and everything that's made them. You understand what I'm saying? Have you ever been to McDonald's before and you're watching? Just pay attention to this. Pay attention to how the Black and Latin employees interact with white people, and then watch the way they interact and pay attention to them closely, how they interact with you. You will see a difference. The only time it becomes not a difference if it's another woman. If it's another woman and they feel that that woman is intimidating or they can't take that woman. A lot of chicks don't be admitting that. A lot of bitches are scared of other bitches. I say it for you again. A lot of bitches are scared of other bitches and they know how to take it and how far they not how not to take it. I bet you wouldn't try. Listen, my little sister Val was with me. You would not try me. If you were a chick, if my little sister was with me, you will not try me. Trust me. I saw my other sister strip a bitch down in the middle of the street, made her take all that shit off of stealing her shirt, and made that bitch walk home. And that's a fact. We got 20, at least 20 witnesses to it because it was right after school. And she walked on with a big ass knot on her head. These women will be talking shit to these men, be at their job, and not realize you're gonna be there stagnant for the next 8 hours at least at minimum. What if I called my sisters up here and told them to come up here and beat your motherfucking head in and you don't know who the fuck did it? I don't want no bragging rights. I just want to know it was done. You know, the bragging rights shit, that's for kids. I don't want the bragging rights. I just want to know. Give me y'all know how I move. You know what I mean? Just let me know it's done. I don't need no bragging rights. You got to start paying attention, ladies, to who you're talking to, who you're turning up with, who you're trying to be sarcastic with, who you're trying to prove a moment with that you're somebody. Because what it sticks out and it says is you think it's one thing, and it sticks out and it says, oh, I'm somebody. I am woman. Hear me roar. No, it sticks out and it says you are jackass and you look silly and you have low self-esteem and you don't people don't pay attention to you much, so you have to create situations so people pay attention to you. And deep beyond all that, you hate men of color because the men of color that have been in your life have been horrible to you. I'm sorry what happened to you. I'm sorry your dad went around to give you a hug. I'm sorry your uncle may have touched you or whatever. Go to therapy. You always talk about mental health, right? Some of you broads need to go to mental health first. You're using it as a diversion. And every time a man comes in the conversation, you're talking about, oh, well, that man needs to go to mental health. And, you know, mental health is real. And you all pretend online that you're psychiatrists and fucking got, you know, BAs and everything else and fucking psychology. Meanwhile, you bitches are RPNs and RNs that hang around the hospital and try to listen to lingo and try to figure out what it is after you look it up in the fucking the health dictionary. Come on, man. My mom is a practitioner. I know the steps. I know when I'm talking to a registered nurse. I know the lingo of a licensed practitioner nurse. I know when I hear that shit. Go fool somebody else. And they'll try to juice it all up and try to sound like they're fucking smart. I know when the difference between somebody trying to sound like they're smart and somebody actually being intelligent. You actually have to be in a collegiate environment, meaning you have to attend the college to be able to distinguish between the two. I really honestly feel. But you can learn it in a business environment too. I was one of the weird ones. I ended up in the music industry and then went to college later for the second time. So about to be the third time. About to be the third time now. I just thought about that. You ladies have to be very careful who you snapping off with. And I'm telling you this like you was my little sisters. I'm telling you this like you was my little nieces or whatever. There are men out here that will harm you. There are men out here that will take your life. There are men out here that will slice your throat. They just found this young girl down there in Atlanta. She had been missing for fucking 2 weeks. They couldn't even barely identify the body. Now these sicko motherfuckers are into dismembering the body. There was a girl in Alabama. Her body was cut up by ex-boyfriend over a baby, and he killed the baby too. And those guys knew these women. That's the part you're missing. These guys knew these women. And a lot of times, these women, I hate to say it, a lot of the times, they may not be the facilitators of the argument, but they do indulge in it enough to the fact where they end up getting bodily harm put on them based off that sassiness and mouth shit. It is better for you to pack up your shit, go to some fuck. They got tons of these places for women if they get into something. Go to one of these shelters or something like that, or whatever the case may be, and get away from people battering you. It is better for you to do that than to sit around for the next 10 years, let your kids see you getting your ass whooped, you getting your ass whooped, you explaining why you got black eyes, and now you so in the game now and used to that. You are damaged goods to any other man that might even want to consider you with kids or without kids because you chose that type of man. And there's women out here that have grown up with stepfathers, mama's boyfriend, or the dude, beep, beep, mama, that man out here again. Beep, beep, mama, that other man out here again. Beep, beep. Yo, mama, I don't know this man, but he out here. Oh, there's tons of you girls that have grown up like that. And year after year after year after year after year after year after year, there was always somebody different, and they wasn't the best examples of men. So these women, when they got this form of feminism thrown in their face as a choice, they decided to stick with it and grab onto it. Now look at you now. Many of y'all on the trajectory of having a house full of cats, babyless, and no ring. And if that's how you feel, hey, more power to you. I'm not mad at you. Maybe perhaps you girls will create another society after that of the Amazons, and perhaps maybe you may, I guess, intertwine with each other. Because that seems to be where you're headed to. Because if you don't like men, I mean, what's the other option left? Either nothing or finding solace within yourselves. This is why a lot of times I say this, because I don't see men running around. Even the advertisements that we have nowadays. Have you ever noticed that whatever cause it is, or betterment or empowerment or whatever the case may be, they always say one or two things, for black girls or for women. And I'm like, okay, but there's men out here that are fucking killing people, shooting up fucking grocery stores, fucking mass murder this week, this school shot up or whatever. Shouldn't we be putting more? It seems like the girls are all right, at least for the next 5 years. They on the right road. These bras got their own businesses. They empower and hire other girls instead of men. I mean, it looks like the girls have got it all wrapped in and tightened in. I don't think they need any fucking help. But every type of advocacy, every type of program, or everything that pops up always includes in this fallacy that fucking Joe Biden keeps putting out here, families. There are no fucking families, Joe Biden. This is not 1970 fucking one. There are not no families in America. There's groups and individuals that get together and they lie to themselves and other people and say, oh, that's my wife. Well, where a ring at? Where your marriage certificate at? This motherfucker's been out here. They've been together for 25 fucking years. This motherfucker ain't never asked her one time, hey, Maribel, hey, Shaniqua, you want to get married? Now, one fucking time. I've known people like that. I know some people right now like that. They've been together for 20 fucking plus years, ain't never gonna get married. Now, at this point, these girls are mimicking and they're grabbing tenets of women that, can we just be honest, are either bitter, evil, hate men, misandrous, or just quite just quite frankly, they ain't gonna ever be shit, ain't never been shit. And I don't mean that as far as what you've had accomplished. I mean, as far as you can have good intentions and a good soul and wake up every day and at least try. I can respect that motherfucker, but I can't respect anybody that just walks around and starts problems with people just because they can do it. And a lot of these women are doing that. And it's dangerous behavior. The boys are following behind them when they do them. And sometimes they're filming the girls as they engage in the behavior. And it's just like, yo, what the fuck is going on with, listen, you can sit back all day, crack all these jokes online and talk about white kids, this, these kids, that, try to articulate, pontificate, all this shit, other races of people, right? But at the same time, if you don't look at yours and say to yourself, hey, you know what? What's wrong with mine, man? What's wrong with mine? And not come up to some conclusion or whatever. And I use the best example of it. None of these motherfuckers gave a fuck about Black History Month. There was motherfuckers doing struggle posts on the last day of Black History Month. It was snowing here. But I remember seeing it. And I was like, damn. So that goes to show you what the mentality is, this narcissistic mentality that is just heavily more so in the girls, I believe, than in the boys. And that was my whole thing. And I don't want y'all to think I was on some bashing session of the girls, or I was talking particularly your girls or your daughters, anything like that. It's not that. It's the fact of we have to start being more attentive to certain situations that are going on. And I know people are not going to want to hear this because it's not about gossiping or whatever. But you know what? So what? Fuck you. Everything's not going to be about gossip. But I'll give you a little bit. I'll give you a little bit. I went to somebody's page today and I checked out their page. And I said, you know what? Here's y'all a little bit of gossip. I said, you know what? Let me check this guy's page and see what he was talking about before he started talking about this. And this is what got him all his views. So I started watching this. I started going through his shit and I looked at his page or whatever. And I said, fuck it, we can put it out there. This is about Jaguar Wright. And so when I went to the person's page or whatever, I looked at their page and I said to myself, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to end this and then I'm going to come back. So y'all come back. If you just catch us on the replay, it's the next upload after this because I think this needs to be talked about separately. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to wind the machine back up. I'll be right back, guys. And thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit up the Cash App, $STRINGERBELL80. I'm going to end this, and I'm going to come back and do a quick 30 minutes with that. Just give me 5 minutes. I'm going to get something to drink, too, guys.